To John Martin. Hey, I can hear myself now. Sorry about that. I couldn't hear myself for a second there. Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, sorry about that little glitch at the beginning. I guess I'm still working my way out of a fog, man. I was out fishing this weekend. Wasn't too good a trip, but I won the snapper jackpot. But it was really foggy out there and kind of eerily. So I'm coming out of the fog. And Kansas City apparently was in somewhat of a fog yesterday at the Super Bowl. And we're going to talk briefly about that in just a moment. But we got a great show for you today. You know, tomorrow, the second impeachment trial of Donald Trump is set to begin. So we're going to talk about an opinion piece about whether or not the trial actually matters. And I have a slightly different take, as you may imagine, from this AP writer. But before we go any further, I got to talk about our sponsor, Big Daddy Unlimited, otherwise known as BDU. No matter when or where you're watching the show, look above the video and you can see a link not only to what we're talking about today, but our sponsor, in this case, Big Daddy Unlimited. They are your Second Amendment headquarters. You can literally get guns and ammunition delivered directly to your doorstep at factory direct pricing, including thousands of other items, including swag, tactical gear, survival stuff, anything that remotely is connected to the Second Amendment. You will find that at factory direct prices, Big Daddy Unlimited. And they are your Second Amendment headquarters because they're defending your Second Amendment rights on a daily basis. So check them out. We also have patriotthreads.org, apparel with a purpose. Use the promo code JMT, John Martin Talks, but just the initials, and you get 20% off. Now, if you go there, you'll see that they have all kind of different types of shirts and other things that have a patriotic theme. Not only can you purchase the shirts there, but if you have a charity event that you're putting together and you want to do fundraising through selling t-shirts, you can, patriotthreads.org is a fulfillment center. They can literally cover you from A to Z and help you with that. Remember the JMT promo code for 20% off. Recoil TV on YouTube channel. We have our own YouTube channel. It's John Martin Talks. Please go directly there and subscribe to it, and we're getting more views every day. And oh, by the way, a little tidbit of information. I don't know how long it's going to last, but I'm out of Facebook jail, man. Free John Martin has worked. I've been out of Facebook jail for less than 24 hours, and thus far, I haven't done anything to get back in it, but mainly because I was either sleeping after the fishing trip or watching the Super Bowl. So I haven't done much on Facebook, but now you can actually go to Facebook and put your comments there, and I will try to respond to them for however long it lasts. We'll see. But Recoil TV is all about the Second Amendment as well. They have a YouTube channel. Our show is archived there, and check that out. But they demonstrate how to use firearms, anything to do with Second Amendment. They have multiple videos on it. Check out Recoil TV. They also have a magazine, and we are determined to stay in the public square no matter what. That's why I'm celebrating getting back on Facebook out of jail. I realize that they're against us, as they say, and Twitter and everything else. Well, I got a Twitter handle. It's at John Martin Talks. Billy Bob, my psychic sidekick, has one too. It is at Billy Bob Bass 1. We are determined to create a situation where we can't be taken off the air no matter what, and that is thanks to Big Daddy Unlimited and Recoil TV. Due to the move by big tech to deplatform conservative free speech, which is what we are, we'll be moving John Martin Talks to a new secure platform so that we can continue to broadcast. Please download the Recoil TV app. Recoil TV app that can be found in the same link as our sponsor. They're on, it can be on the Google store and the Apple Play Store while it lasts, so to speak, because you never know. Second Amendment is definitely under attack. In addition, you can go directly to a new site we have called johnmartintalks.tv and see our shows archived there. We are, like I say, determined to be your voice of freedom. So remember, www.johnmartintalks.tv and you can always see our show. Please share this thing far and wide as possible. Email people, everything, because if you're going to be, like I tell you all the time, not everybody can be a fighter, but everybody can support those of us in the fight, and that's where I need you to help out. So, go to our sponsors, share our show, be an active participant. We appreciate it. Well, I want to give you a few thoughts on the Super Bowl last night. We're not going to get too much into the actual game itself, but a few things. First of all, congratulations to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for winning, what was it, Super Bowl 55. The first thing out of the gate I want to say is this idea of the GOAT, the greatest of all time. They have this debate in all kind of sports, like in NBA, they're always talking about, is LeBron the greatest of all time, or is it Michael Jordan, and those kind of things. And there's debate in certain sports. But I got to tell you, there is no debate on the GOAT now in the NFL. If there ever was one leading up to this, it's over right now. Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. I don't see how you can dispute that. And I'm not like a huge Tom Brady fan. I wasn't a huge Patriots fan. But you got to admire the guy. It's amazing what he's been able to do, especially at the age he is. It's just simply fantastic. There's just no other way around it. And I will say, I have become a Brady fan over the last few years, not the least of which is because he's been attacked for apparently liking Donald Trump. So that made me take a look at him and everything else. But Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. I think that case is closed for some. I mean, how could anybody get the records he's got right now? I mean, they'd have to play for a long time. And he is rare. But as far as the Super Bowl itself, let me just say, and this is taking nothing away from Tampa Bay or too critical of Kansas City, but I thought that the key thing in that game was right before half when the coaches made the decision to call those timeouts. When Tampa Bay got the ball back with like a minute and something to go, I actually thought that was brain dead. I was like, what the heck are they thinking about? Because Kansas City was only down one possession, and they were going to get the ball to start the second half. That looked pretty desperate to me and made no sense. But let's talk about the things surrounding the Super Bowl, because actually, to me, as a political junkie, that was probably more interesting than the game itself. First of all, this was the PCest Super Bowl in history. The Super Bowl's been moving to PC for a long time. By that, I mean politically correct. It was completely a PC show. That was it. If you're not into PC, it's unbelievable. And I was talking to my wife a little bit this morning about it because she doesn't watch all that stuff, but we were talking about it. And what's fascinating to me is and I think a lot of sports leagues follow this, but especially the NFL, they seem to be marketing to people that watch the game the least. Because let's face it, the vast majority of NFL fans are going to be male. Now, I know there's a lot of women that watch NFL and stuff, but it's mainly male driven. It just is. And I don't have any science to back this up, Mr. Algorithm. Don't ban me yet. I'm just giving you my opinionated fact, but it's probably a fact nonetheless. I bet if you broke it down, that probably at least 70% of the audience, maybe 80, is male dominated, right? That's why they advertise beer and trucks and stuff like that. And I would venture to say that at least half of that is probably white males. And probably another 30% is probably black males. It's just the way it is. And the rest is a hodgepodge of all kind of people. And I'm not making a critical statement about that one way or another. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me to be trying to target and drive people out. Because I can tell you, if you were a white dude, you were not portrayed very well in any of the commercials around the one commercial and I'm not going to get too deep into them, but they had the one commercial where the little white boy is like inspired by the black female athlete, and he goes in there and he can't even lift up a can of paint. It just made him look weak. I'm like, what the heck are they doing? But most of the commercials were just over the top PC advertising, as I say, to people that probably aren't all that keen on watching the show. And a lot of, and this was not widely reported, but a lot of normal vendors didn't put their normal commercials they would put in the advertisements in the Super Bowl because they were worried about offending people. So there was all of that. The other thing I thought what was interesting, and actually I heard on a show coming in, and I'd already put this in my notes and I was thinking it at the time, but apparently Dan Rather tweeted this out overnight about where are the people wearing masks on the commercials and should they even be allowed to put them? Because that was one thing that jumped out at me. They had all these social interaction commercials, people partying in their backyard with obviously more than just their family, people watching in bars and all over the place, and no one's wearing a mask. You know, these Hollywood spokespeople, I kind of, in a way, and I don't normally feel sorry for Hollywood people, but they're going to have to make one heck of an adjustment if we continue to have all these mask mandates, because how are you going to be a star if it's your face power that makes you a star, if you have to wear a mask? And if the only people living life on a regular basis or without mask are Hollywood people in the movies and in these television productions, then aren't we going to be like not relatable to them in any way? Because if we have to wear a mask everywhere we go and they don't, even if it's a fictitious account, it's somewhere there's going to be a crossover there that I don't know. It just struck me as really odd that while we're all being told to be locked down, as I reported on our Friday show, even out in LA, they banned televisions from bars and restaurants on Super Bowl Sunday because they didn't want people gathering up. But everybody in the commercial, kind of like Facebook, I guess, where everybody is like enjoying the heck out of their life no matter what. I mean, how about, this is a side note, but how many times have you looked at somebody on Facebook that you know pretty well personally, and they look like they're having the time of their lives everywhere they go, but you know them personally, you know that they're some of the saddest sons of guns, you know, it's just weird. But the other thing that's really popped out at me, it's like I was just referring to that commercial with the scrawny white kid inspired by this black woman athlete. And then, of course, they were portraying strong women throughout this thing. Like they did a little feature on the female referee that was there. And you know, I'm not knocking it in any way. I don't really have an issue with it one way or another. But they made a big deal over it. She was the first, you know, and how she's inspiring other young women, which I'm sure she is. I mean, I'm all for it. And then they showed the woman, it's a true story, the woman that's an Olympic swimmer, and she doesn't have, both her legs are amputated. She was adopted from the Ukraine, I think. Both of her legs are amputated from the knee down. And I thought, I mean, it's terrific. But what kept getting me, and maybe it's just me, chime in on like Facebook since I'm out of jail, or always go to our YouTube channel and chime in. But I'd like to hear your opinion, because what I'm thinking there is what difference does it make? I mean, so why would you portray strong women as athletes when Joe Biden has just signed an executive order, and apparently it's all the rage, that men can compete against women in sports, period. So you're touting a woman who is a double amputee, who is an Olympic swimmer, but any old man probably, I mean, I doubt that I could, but a lot of men could beat her. And, you know, so you got this woman that's the first referee in history, the woman in the Super Bowl, but who cares? I mean, why not just put the man up there? I don't understand it, man. And so strong women, I'm 100% for strong women and role models. I believe we need more of them, not less of them. But what difference does it make if men, and I'll say this and I'll shut up and we'll move on, that I talked about this a week or so ago, and her name escapes me, which tells you a lot right there. There's a woman that's like the fastest woman in the world. I can't think of her name right now, but she's won all kind of records at the Olympic level. She's just by far the greatest woman runner, track athlete in history. But the reality is there are like 400 men in America right now, not the world, but in America, that could shatter every one of her records today and be an Olympic gold medalist if they allow that to happen. So, you know, I'm just saying, do strong women really matter anymore? Is it going to, I mean, I was worried at one point that we were becoming, you know, basically the feminization of men. Now I'm actually more worried about the menization of women's, if there is such a word. Anyway, we'll move along. All right, let's get into this thing about President Trump's trial, which is supposed to start tomorrow. This is an AP story. The gentleman's name, he's a political editor for the AP. His name is Stephen Sloan. I know nothing about him, but he wrote this opinion piece, so we're going to use it as a template. Analysis: Trump's Senate trial matters regardless of outcome. Now, this picture we're showing right there, this is Donald Trump in front of the White House at the rally on January 6th that he supposedly inspired an insurrection and everything else. That's that picture. But we're going to talk about this Stephen Sloan comments here. He said this, he starts out the article by saying, this matters, talking about Donald Trump, because I guess the perception he's trying to set up is that the Democrats are saying Trump, is basically Benedict Arnold, is citing, and if you don't know who that is, look it up, snowflakes. But that Trump is Benedict Arnold, the greatest traitor in the history of the United States, and he's all this kind of stuff, and that the Republicans are supposedly mounting their defense that this is unconstitutional, and the verdict is, as they say in the article here, is preordained and all that. So it doesn't really matter. And then, of course, this writer is trying to say that it does matter. And I think it does matter, although I don't necessarily agree with his conclusion. Back to the article. It says the outcome may seem preordained in the unprecedented second impeachment trial of Donald Trump. So it's preordained. So he's basically saying that the Republicans are not going to vote in enough. You got to have like 3/4 of the Senate to convict in an impeachment trial. And, we had that vote. Rand Paul put forward this thing basically saying it was unconstitutional. And I think it was 45 Republicans voted that it was unconstitutional and shouldn't happen. And, of course, five Republicans voted with the Democrats. And that is being looked at as saying that there's no way, and don't hold me to the math on this, I want to say that it has to take like 17 Republicans would have to go with all the Democrats, assuming that they all voted to impeach Trump, and that there's no way that's going to happen. Let me just say this, ladies and gentlemen. I agree that's unlikely to happen, but I don't trust the Republicans. Do you? If you're a Trump supporter out there, do you really trust the Republicans to do the right thing here? I actually believe it matters. Now, I do think that there are enough people who actually appreciate what President Trump did during his time on the Republican side. There are probably some Democrats like Joe Manchin, although I doubt he has the courage to buck the system, that actually approve not necessarily of the man Donald Trump or the personality Donald Trump, but the policies to make sure that he doesn't get convicted on this. But I can tell you this, the main thing that will keep Donald Trump from being convicted is there's one person, I've been telling you for a while, and I've been telling you this for the last 4 years. There is one person in this country that they fear, the swamp rats on both sides of the aisle, and they literally are on both sides of the aisle. There's one person they fear more than Donald Trump, and it's you. It's you MAGA hat wearing sons of guns, you dregs of society. As President Biden, when he was candidate, Biden said, you 15% that are mostly just bad people. Yeah, you. The ones that put Donald Trump in power, the ones that gave him the most votes in the history of a sitting president. Not saying there's any mod, because we can't say the F word on here at all. They try to trick me into saying it. I'm not saying it. I'm not saying there's any mod, but assuming there was mod, then, you're not going to get your day in court. We know that. But they're afraid of you, the American people that put Donald Trump in office. They're not afraid of Donald Trump. They're afraid of you. I say that to say that that's the only thing that keeps the Republicans in line. The only guarantee, if there is such a thing, is they're worried about you. And we're going to talk more about that as the show continues. Back to the article. Democrats prosecuting the former president. Again, this is an opinion piece, one more time, by a gentleman that writes for the AP, political editor Stephen Sloan. The Democrats prosecuting the former president for inciting a deadly insurrection at the U.S. Capitol will struggle to persuade at least, and I was right, 17 Republicans to convict Trump and bar him from office, which is the main purpose of this. 45 of the 50 Republican senators backed a bid last month to dismiss the trial, essentially telegraphing how the final vote will play out. Well, I just kind of went over that, so I won't rehash it. But I keep hearing this term insurrection. And, this is a picture of the buffalo hat guy and some of the people inside the Capitol. They've already breached. I'm not condoning any action. There's a video out there, Tucker Carlson played it, of when they actually went into, when this dude and some of the people with him went into the House chambers, and he's going like, hello, and I can't get the video up. I can't seem to pull it up. Maybe you could send me a link to it if you can find. I can't get a clean shot of it. I'd like to have that from my archive. And I'm not condoning the violence that happened there, but these dudes are far from insurrectionists, man. I mean, really, do you really think that you're running for your life from that? If I saw that, I would think I was in some weird recreation of the Village People or something, you know? I mean, I'm not condoning this dude, but to keep calling it like a violent insurrection. And let me just say, the violence was wrong. The people who breached the Capitol should be prosecuted. Apparently they are being, and the deaths that occurred, no matter how they occurred, are inexcusable and tragic. And people should be found out who killed those people and absolutely prosecuted. But to continue to hammer this as some kind of big threat to the overthrow the government of the United States actually delegitimizes some of this, because it's just crazy. No one who can actually watch like the video, and I wish I could have it. I'd love to show it to you. Tucker Carlson showed it. I give him some credit. Can say these people were like, you know, if anything, they're like stoners, man. If anything, not condoning a thing. But the trial set to begin Tuesday is ultimately a test of whether a president, but he's not a president, Donald Trump, holding an office that many of the nation's founders feared could become too powerful in the wrong hands, is above the law. You keep hearing that term with Donald Trump. We heard it in the first impeachment, above the law. I'm not about to say that anybody in the United States of America is above the law. Now, it does appear that there are quite a few people that are, but you know what, Donald Trump, it's never been that he's above the law. I'm not saying that at all. But one thing's for sure, he shouldn't be beneath the law, because that's what the Democrats are saying. Go back to the first impeachment. They basically impeached the dude for nothing. Nothing. I mean, the call, I wouldn't necessarily say it was perfect. It doesn't have to be no such thing as perfect. But Donald Trump, go back and look at the transcripts of that call. There's nothing in that call that is impeachable. Nothing. No high crime or misdemeanor. No quid pro quo. Quid pro quo Joe boasted about it, our current president. And God help us, he is our current president. I don't like saying it either, but I got to live with the reality and deal with it as we come. It's the only way to defeat the dude, right? As I guess you're going back to that controversy. Remember when old turtlehead Mitch McConnell said, I want to make Barack Obama a one-term president, and he was just blasted as a racist and everything else for that. There's nothing wrong with the leader of the Republican Party at that time saying we want to make a Democratic president a one-term president. What the Democrats was trying to make Donald Trump a no-term president. And they're still doing it with this impeachment. They're trying to ghost the dude, man. They're trying to basically, you know, like something from ancient Egypt where they go back and like scrape off the face of the people inside the pyramids or the Temple of the Kings or whatever. That's what they're trying to do to Donald Trump. So it's not about Donald Trump being above the law. It's about Donald Trump being beneath the law. And he has every right not to that as well. Senators will be forced to sit still, listen to evidence, and wrestle with elemental questions about American democracy. By the way, just for, you know, you snowflakes out there that don't get an education in school, we actually have a republic, not a democracy. There's a slight difference. Check it out. There will be a test later. There will be visceral evidence, and the American people will also be sitting in their own form of judgment as they watch. Own form of judgment as they watch. Let me just tell you, cut to the chase here, ladies and gentlemen. That's the whole purpose. The whole purpose of this second impeachment is to try to sway the American people enough that they will never support Donald Trump, whether he actually runs for president again or supports somebody else. They're trying to ghost Donald Trump, and they're trying to erase him from the political memory of the people of the United States. I don't see that happening. Now, there may be some people that are, you know, turn away from Trump for various reasons. Probably the main one would be just fatigue. They just don't want to go through it, because there's a lot of people that are just fatigued about it. They just want to, you know, go along, get along kind of thing. Not too many of those are Trump supporters, but I get that. That's probably the biggest criticism that I might agree with, that Trump can wear you out, man, because he's in your face and he doesn't give a hoot about the media. A lot of things I love about Donald Trump, but I can see how for some people could tire them a bit. So there's always that. But as far as the core people, the people that went to rallies by the tens of thousands, if not millions, that literally chanted, "We love you," the people that still have their Trump signs in their yard, like yours truly here, this nothing you're going to do. You can call us whatever you want. Cult followers, ISIS members, whatever you want to call us. I call us patriots that love this country and believe that Donald Trump was a godsend to us, But hey, godsends get crucified sometime. And I'm not saying that he's Jesus by any stretch, so don't go there. That's not what I'm saying. I'm simply pointing out that if they're trying to drive a wedge between hardcore Trump supporters and the president, former President Donald Trump, boy, it breaks my heart to even say that right now, it ain't going to happen. It's just not going to happen. But that's what this is about. It is about, what is this line here? The American people also be sitting in their own form of judgment as they watch. That's the whole purpose of this trial. The verdict, back to the article, the verdict and the process itself will be scrutinized for generations. That's what Mr. Sloan is saying. I don't know. I got mixed feelings about that. Because first of all, people's political attention span is less than the size of a gnat's brain for the most part in general. And so the people that are probably going to pay the most attention to it for the longest time would actually be Trump supporters. And they may be talking about it in reprogramming camps somewhere. They may be talking through the wire. We have to do our own version of Hogan's Heroes or something like that. Trump, what do we call, instead of Hogan's Heroes, maybe we have a new show where we're all in a camp being deprogrammed and we're called Trump's Chumps, something like that. I can see that, man. I'll probably end up there. Maybe they'll let me fish in a retention pond or something there. But the verdict and the process itself will be scrutinized for generations. I don't know about that. Said Carol Anderson, a professor of African American Studies at Emory University. Don't know anything about her, but what she says here is kind of interesting. She says for historians, what that trial does is to provide additional evidence. There's no sign that they're going to actually present any evidence, and documentation under oath. It also gives us a sense of strength or weakness in American democracy as the senators are confronted with this evidence. She says here, what is it? It always gives a sense of strength and weakness. You know what it gives me a sense of? How desperate the left is. How desperate the never Trumpers are. How desperate the progressives that control the Democratic Party are. How desperate the media is. How desperate the establishments of both parties are to make sure, as I say, that public enemy number one, and public enemy number one is not Donald Trump. Public enemy number one is you. You are public enemy number one. You've got to be deprogrammed, liberated, removed, identified. Bank of America, putting out thing now, putting out your financial information out there and tracking you without your permission. All this kind of stuff. They are desperate to stop you from not to mention voting for Donald Trump again, but for you to ever be a political force again, because the idea of draining the swamp, the reality of that just scares the hell out of them. I don't know how else to put it, man. The military industrial complex, everybody got the hand out, ching-a-ling-a-ling, man. They are terrified of you. Did you see where Mitt Romney, oh God, Mitt Romney, if you ever thought Mitt Romney was conservative, he's actually put out a proposal now to give guarantee, and I'm not talking about the child tax credit, that's a whole nother thing, but to actually give direct payments of like $2,000 a month to parents with children for every child they have until the pandemic is over, which could literally be forever. There's a new article out I just heard about on radio that basically says, and Breitbart was putting it out there. I listen to them in the morning quite a bit. Pretty good show. And this article came out that basically says that we're probably going to be dealing with coronavirus for the next 5 to 7 years, maybe 7 to 10 years. And the host of that Breitbart show, Alex Marlow, give him credit, he actually said, and I agree with him 100%, that when they say, oh, the next 5 to 7, 7 to 10, I don't remember the exact figure, what they're really saying is they have no clue. They have no idea how long we're going to be dealing with this. And I think he's absolutely right. But to me, the sense I get is not the sense of weakness in American democracy, although we have a republic. What I get is a sense of desperation from that conglomerate that I was telling you about, the swamp dwellers, those that have a strong connection to maintaining and refilling and overflowing the swamp because they got the hand in the till. Back to this article. The record is certain to be grisly because they're talking about this evidence they're going to present against Trump is mostly videos of people attacking the Capitol and things he's said in the past about fight like hell and, take the fight to Washington and all that kind of stuff. But it's saying here the record is certain to be, that's what they're going to present as evidence. The record is certain to be grisly, a reminder on a human level of the horror at Capitol Hill on January 6th. And it was horrible. I'm not disputing that at all. But and I'm going to play a video for you that I'm surprised I was even able to find it because they're taking all this stuff down from like YouTube and everything else. But it's not censorship. It's not censorship. It's, limiting your reach is what they're saying now. You can say whatever you want. We're going to limit your reach is the official position, it seems like. But check out this video. It's a little hard to see, but it is a police officer in New York City at the height of the George Floyd protest, literally getting just barreled over. Check it out. See that guy in the middle there? And there's no sound to it. That's the way it is that they're running out. That is a police officer that literally got run over in there. And yet that's not the grisly thing. That's not, something that's not incitement to violence. That's not, the idea that Donald Trump on January 6th, when he said to go peacefully and patriotically protest, they want to point out, he said, fight like hell. Well, they all say that. I've shown you the videos of other Democrats just literally inciting violence, like Cory Booker saying, go up and get in their face, and of course, the majority leader, breaks my heart to say that as well, Chuck Schumer, talking about Gorsuch, we're coming for you. You're going to reap the whirlwind, you and Kavanaugh and all that kind of stuff. That's not incitement. Running over a police officer and just leaving him for dead in the street, no problem there. As long as the guy was wearing a mask, I'm sure it'll be all right. Senators will review Trump's call that morning to fight like hell. Here they go. Before the mob of loyalists showed up to the Capitol Hill, the mob of loyalists. See, that's a key phrase right there. They're trying to make sure that everybody who, went to the Capitol represents the Trump supporters. I can tell you for a fact, because I know some people up there, and I know this because I've been to Trump rallies, that 99.9% of Trump supporters would never do any of that. Now, I'm not saying there weren't some loyal Trump supporters in that. Some of them may have been instigators. There's more evidence, which they might not want to come out in this so-called trial, but there's more evidence that there were instigators that weren't necessarily anything to do with Donald Trump. But I do think there were some loyal Trump supporters that could have been instigators, not saying they're not, but were caught up in the moment. That's mob rule is a really scary thing, what happens when mobs happen. But the vast majority of Trump supporters, the ones that basically you basket of deplorables that Hillary called you dregs of society that Biden doubled down with, saying you're mostly bad people. Most of these mostly bad people that are Trump supporters, the last thing they would do is what happened there because they're not that type of people. Plus, they know that would just be playing into hurting Donald Trump. And love him, hey, you can't be a cult follower and try to harm your cult leader, can you? You can't have your cake and eat it too. But it says here, before the mob of loyalists Capitol Hill to do just that, senators will be reminded of the rioters' chants. Now, they won't be playing, what do we want? Dead cops. When do we want them now? Are pigs in a blanket, fry them like bacon. are down at the border saying no borders, no walls, no USA at all. No, that won't be, those chants will never be played. Or we love you, Donald Trump, will never be played. They'll be playing, ones that fit their bill. Chants calling for then Vice President Mike Pence hanging. House prosecutors could resurface the image of police officers crushed between doors, blood trickling from his mouth as the violent crowd moved in. That'd be horrendous. But it has nothing to do with Donald Trump. There might be additional evidence of how another officer, Brian Sicknick, died before defending the building. Well, Donald Trump actually said that go down and peacefully and patriotically protest. Now, I tell you, I believe, you imagine what a poll of police officers right now would reveal? I still think the vast majority of police officers, ones I've talked to of every creed or color, are diehard supporters of Donald Trump because they believe he's the only president we've had in quite some time that actually had their back no matter what. But this idea of, I want to play another video for you. I want to set this up a little bit. This is candidate Joe Biden opening up his presidential campaign. Now, I'm going to spare you the 4-minute video where he literally opens up his campaign, but I want to play this part that to me is the big lie that Biden opened his campaign up with. The media continues to this day to say it. And Biden literally accepted the Democratic nomination with the same lie, and that is that Donald Trump actually said that there were peaceful protesters, that there were good people on both sides of the Nazis and Antifa, and he categorically did not say that. He said there were good people on both sides of the statue issue. Those that were wanting to see Robert E. Lee statue stay up and those that wanted to take it down. And he specifically condemned white supremacists and Nazis and Antifa, but he gets no credit for that whatsoever. But I want to play this because this is what they want you to believe, ladies and gentlemen, the indoctrination, not the education, the indoctrination of our people. They want you to believe all kind of lies, that there was no voter mod and other things like that. Also listen to this because Joe Biden at the beginning, I think of the clip that I've got pulled up, talks about, some things that that before he went, you know the deal, that kind of thing. When I was watching this, I was wondering how many takes did it take to get Biden to look this good, but check it out.
It was there on August of 2017 we saw Klansmen and white supremacists and neo-Nazis come out in the open. Their crazed faces, illuminated by torches, veins bulging and bearing the fangs of racism, chanting the same anti-Semitic bile heard across Europe in the 30s. And they were met by a courageous group of Americans, and a violent clash ensued. And a brave young woman lost her life. And that's when we heard the words of the President of the United States that stunned the world and shocked the conscience of this nation. He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides? With those words, the President of the United States assigned a moral equivalence between those spreading hate and those with the courage to stand against it. And in that moment, I knew the threat to this nation was unlike any I had ever seen in my lifetime. I wrote at the time that we're in the battle for the soul of this nation. Well, that's even more true today. We are in the battle for the soul of this nation. I believe history will look back on 4 years of this president and all he embraces as an aberrant moment in time. But if we give Donald Trump 8 years in the White House, he will forever and fundamentally alter the character of this nation.
That's good enough. That last part, ladies and gentlemen, is what it's all about. 4 years was enough to expose the swamp. If you gave the man another 4 years, he might actually drain the swamp. Because he didn't drain it too much. He exposed the heck out of it. That's probably the greatest single achievement that Donald Trump did in his 4 years. And This is no small thing. It is, matter of fact, it is, to quote Donald Trump, it's huge. The biggest thing that I think President Trump did, twofold. One, of course, underlying it all, he restored a belief in a lot of people of America's greatness and what we could do again. That's for sure. Make America great again. But I also believe that he exposed just how rotten our tree of liberty has become, how hollowed out it is, how deep the swamp actually is, how big it is on both sides of the aisle. And that is what he must be ghosted for. He must be impeached, even unconstitutionally, however you want to look at him. He's got to be taken out of the American psyche, because there's one thing they cannot allow, and that is for the swamp to be drained. Because where would Joe Biden be today if it weren't for the swamp? The best he could possibly hope for, and I'm not knocking hardware salesmen, is maybe to be in Scranton saying, how can I help you find a hammer or something at an Ace Hardware? I mean, and that's a stretch for him to do that. Think about this, what would Joe Biden be, and where would his family be if he weren't sucking the political tit? I doubt he would be anywhere, man. But Joe Biden, he started his campaign out with an absolute lie. If you don't believe me, if you think I'm just pulling for Trump, have the courage to actually go back and read the transcript, because things can get lost in video sometimes. Donald Trump never, ever once said that. And also notice how Biden says in that you got all these people of hate and brave Americans, which was Antifa, stand up to them. That kind of thing. Total hogwash. Total malarkey, as Biden. And he talks about the anti-Semitic thing like Donald Trump is an anti-Semite. Well, ask the Israeli people. Donald Trump is hero worship over there. They have named cities after Donald Trump in Israel now. I mean, it is just so, it just irritates me. I don't have a problem with not agreeing on things, but when you just put lie out there and you start your campaign and accept the nomination with that lie, it just irritates me. I'm sorry. All right, back. Let's see my check with time. We're doing okay. Got a few minutes left. Nearly 2/3 of Americans believe Trump bears, at least according to this, at least a moderate amount of responsibility for the riot, according to a poll. And that's probably true. But think about this, ladies and gentlemen. If you look at the power of the media and what they've been showing, and not only what they show, but what they won't allow to be shown, it's hard to even find Donald Trump's speech out there that he gave that day. It's just unbelievable that anybody would even have any positive feelings about Donald Trump. It's a testament to how strong he was as a candidate, as a person, as president, and how he was able to reach a core group of Americans. It's a testament to that he's even polling above 1%. I mean, because the onslaught is unbelievable, and you cannot question it. You can't question it whatsoever. I mean, Lou Dobbs has now been fired from the #1 rated show on Fox Business abruptly, I guess, Friday. I was gone all weekend, so I didn't really get the meat and potatoes of the story. But basically because he was too much of a pro-Trumpster, I suppose. But it says, we're about out of time. It talks about some people like Lee Hamilton here, a former Democrat under Bill Clinton, that he says all of this is going to be a distraction, and he's advocating censorship, and he's talking about forming a 9/11 style commission to investigate this. It's a distraction, all right. But they're not trying to distract you from Donald Trump. They're trying to ghost him, no doubt. They're trying to distract you from what King Joe is doing. I mean, basically Congress is at a stalemate till this is over, and in between time, King Joe is running the show, although I think it's people behind him, man. But they want a terror attacks of September 11th. Basically, they're saying that MAGA and ISIS, because they're both 4-letter words, are one and the same. American people need to be investigated like we did for 9/11 terrorists. It's crazy. And then, of course, they're wanting to attack him because they're saying Europe is watching and everything else. And I'm going through this pretty quick because we're about out of time. What Europe is worried about is that, and they're so grateful because Donald Trump simply wanted them to live up to their agreements and pay their dadgum fair share. And for that, we had that famous G7 post there, where they're all staring Donald Trump down. I mean, they're so grateful. There would never be that, man. They would be out at a bar partying with Joe Biden, man. But I want to read this last little bit here and we'll close the show out because this, ladies and gentlemen, is total hogwash. This kind of, to me, just crushes his whole opinion here because he's quoting Konstantin Kosoves, head of the Foreign Affairs Committee in Russia's upper house of parliament, said after the January 6th riot, and I quote, "American democracy is obviously limping on both feet. America no longer charts a course and therefore has lost all rights to set it and even more so to impose it on others." Wow. So now we're quoting Russian oligarchs as basically saying that we don't have a leg to stand on because of what happened on January 6th. And you talk about Russia. I mean, they're going to be more empowered, China and Russia. Our enemies are getting more empowered. Let me just ask you this and we'll close the show. Do you think America's position in the world is stronger or weaker since Donald Trump left? I just don't think there's any doubt about that. And there are people having buyer's remorse. I can tell you that. I've been talking to a lot of people. I talked to them on these trips. Not everybody is wants Trump to come back. Believe me, even some people that might have voted for him don't necessarily because they got Trump fatigue, but they're looking at Biden and those guys as just selling us down the river because the rats, ladies and gentlemen, and this is why I don't trust the Republicans, and this is why I trust you, the American people, to hold their feet to the fire, because the rats are just waiting for the swamp to refill. As I say, the biggest thing was that Donald Trump tried to expose it. So there's so much more I could talk about on this, but basically, let me just say this, and we will absolutely, I'm cutting all the way to the last picture. I want to tell my producer this, because there's been a lot of talk, and I've heard it locally in our Republican Party, is that we need to appeal to moderates. We need to reach out to people with not so much of a harsh message. And I reminded that Ronald Reagan said, we don't need to paint in pastel colors. We need to paint in bold colors. But they're the moderates. I got a picture here, and you animal rights people may be offended by this, but they could tell you in my neck of the woods, the only thing you find in the middle of the road is dead skunks and possums. So if the Republican Party wants to go middle of the road, they're done. There is no, let me just say this, there is no Republican Party without Trump supporters. Might not have to be Donald Trump, but if you push all the Trump supporters out and put us in the middle of the road and end up with dead skunks, pity you fools. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. You can now go directly to our Facebook page, like it, share it with others, and all of the other stuff we said. Remember our sponsors, Big Daddy Unlimited, Recoil TV, and Patriot Threads. Support them. I'll keep praying for your family. You keep praying for mine. Let's both pray for this great nation because she needs it and deserves it more than others. But like I say each and every day, from my heart, from my family to yours, have a blessed day.